Hey guys, it's Appleminte. Welcome back again to my channel, and happy Halloween, Halloweekend, whatever you want to call it. So I asked you guys in a poll on my YouTube community tab the other day which of my more recent video series you wanted to see me bring back, and the popular vote by far was my drawing ice cream flavors as people video. So for today's video, I thought that I would put a little bit of a spooky twist on it since it is Halloween this weekend. So I will be drawing spooky Halloween flavors as monsters. But real quick before we get into that, I just wanted to give a shout out to Picasso Tab. If you guys remember, last year I gave away a Picasso Tab digital drawing tablet, and I'm collaborating with them to do another giveaway. So if you guys would like to have a chance to win, there will be 5 winners. All you have to do is sign up at the link in the description box below. If you're interested in winning a drawing tablet, check that out in the link below. You can also watch my previous video on my review of this tablet, which I will also put in the description box below. Anyway, let's get right into this spooky video. So when I was coming up for ideas for this video, my original thought process was to go with something a little bit more fall themed. I hadn't yet thought about the monster spin on it yet. So I had originally done a whole sketch for a pumpkin pie ice cream girl, which is one of my favorite ice cream flavors. But after I drew it, I don't know, something felt a little off about it. I guess she felt a little too basic to me. And then also, I was trying to come up with a second ice cream flavor, and that's when I started thinking about Monster Girls. And once I did that, the pumpkin pie ice cream girl definitely did not fit into the new theme. She just didn't work. So I ended up scrapping her and decided to go all in on a monster theme. So of course I had to start with a vampire because that is one of my favorite monsters. And the direction I went with her is something a little bit more on the obvious side, and that is I made her kind of like an ice cream parlor worker. And the reason I went with that is mostly because of the color palette. For this drawing, I wanted to stick to a really limited color palette. I wanted to use mainly just red, white, and black, and I didn't really want to introduce any other colors into this. And because of that, the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking red, white, black, I thought of those white and red pinstripes. And when I thought of that, it just kind of went into the direction of an ice cream parlor worker. So I went all in with it. You know, it might be a little bit obvious, but I think it's still a fun theme for the drawing. And I wanted to make her really bright and happy kind of expression. And she's just really excited about bloody ice cream, okay? So for these ice cream flavors, I basically made up what they would be. Obviously, well, I hope obviously vampire, bloody, whatever ice cream doesn't exist. For this one specifically, I went with Bloody Sundae Swirl is what I decided to call it. And in both of these, I decided to also draw the ice cream of choice on the side there, just because, you know, they don't exist, so I might as well make up what they look like so that we have a reference for what the girl or the person is. So like I said, I wanted to use a bright pop of red for basically most of the color in this drawing. And I feel like it's fitting, A, because she's a vampire, and B, I really wanted the bloody areas to stand out. I knew I wanted the color palette of the ice cream especially to be very limited to pretty much just white and red, because I would imagine it would be some kind of vanilla with a bloody drizzle sauce on top. And that's pretty much the extent of what would be in this ice cream. So because of that, I wanted to keep the colors pretty simple as well. And it also kind of reminded me of some kind of pop art, which is why I also went with like a straight up black for her hair rather than my C7 dark gray Copic marker, which is what I usually use whenever I'm coloring a black area so that I can still shade it darker. But when I want to do something that pops a little bit more, I usually just go straight into black. And I wanted to keep shading to a minimal also in this one, just so that the colors popped even more. So I do add shading, but it is not as exaggerated or not as detailed as I normally would because, like I said, pops of color. So I tried to spread out the 3 colors accordingly within this drawing so that nothing is too close to each other. And I decided to add her drizzle, her bloody topping drizzle, whatever you want to call that, to the apron to emulate what it would be like on top of the vanilla ice cream. So yeah, as you can see, she's got a pretty simple design, but she was a lot of fun to draw. I think I mostly enjoyed it because of the dramatic pops of color. I think that was my favorite part. And another thing I also enjoyed drawing, which is, you know, more of a secondary thing, is the background behind her. Basically just a bunch of blood swirling around her because the name of the ice cream is Bloody Swirl Sundae. So I decided to use my red Posca pen for this just to make it pop a little bit extra, and it's also a little bit easier to control the flow of the ink since the tip is a little bit more tapered and it doesn't bend as much as my Copic marker one does. So figured that would be also, you know, just better to use there. But anyway, I think I went a little crazy with the blood, but you get it, you know, she's a vampire. I have to go all out. It's Halloween, so. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my interpretation of my fake ice cream flavor. Please don't make this a real ice cream flavor. That would be a little weird. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of her in the comments below. And now on to my next spooky flavor. All right, so once I decided to go all in on the monster theme, I was basically overwhelmed with ideas for the second drawing because there are so many different themes I could have gone with and I just didn't know what to pick. So I kind of sat there sketching a bunch of different things, and you know, I only fit 2 of these per video that I do usually. So I had a lot of trouble narrowing down what I wanted to do. But I eventually decided on doing something more Frankenstein themed because I figured that the color palette would be pretty different, pretty much almost the opposite of what I just did in the other drawing, and so I figured it would be a nice contrast. I was originally thinking maybe I could do something with a ghost, but again, that would have been a lot of white, and I didn't want to do that within the same video that I just used a limited color palette. So this one's a little bit different. For this one, I wanted to focus more on electricity because when you think Frankenstein, you think the little coils and little like bolts on Frankenstein's head, on his temples, and you think of the electricity kind of coursing to bring him to life, right? So that is kind of the direction that I decided to go with this, except female Frankenstein, because, you know, I like drawing girls, so why not? And I wanted to almost make her a rocker chick or like a punk chick to kind of fit the theme of like the electric vibe, and she's kind of crazy and kind of hardcore. That was kind of the idea I went with here for this ice cream. And for the actual ice cream, I went back and forth on a bunch of ideas for the name, and I don't know if I'm still completely happy with the name that I ended up going with, but I was gonna go with Electric Franken Food ice cream. You know how like you find an ice cream flavor, maybe like a Ben & Jerry's, and there's always like a weird name. So I was like, Electric Franken Food, that kind of sounds like ice cream. So do with that what you will. If you have a better name, let me know in the comments below. But anyway, like I said, this drawing has pretty much a completely opposite color palette than the last one, especially being that I'm using green for her skin rather than any reds in this at all. And you know, green and red are opposite on the color wheel if you took your Art 101, wow. Anyway, so for her face, like I normally like to do, I'll normally shade in some blush and a little bit of shading on the nose and the lips in my drawings. And for this one, I pretty much stuck to all greens on her face. And it's always fun to shade in a different color than like just regular skin tones. Like when you're using a green or a blue or something that's a little bit more exciting, it's always cool to shade with them. I know it's kind of basic, but I don't know, I find it fun especially because I never do green skin. Like I actually barely ever use green markers. I don't know why, and I think I've said this before, like I have so many green alcohol markers and I've had sets that come with a ton of greens, and green is my least used color. And it's not that I don't like green. Green is actually one of my favorite colors, but I don't know. When I create art, it never involves green, and I don't know why. And if it does involve green, it's like a very small detail. Like here, it's basically just the skin. So I really only got to use 3 greens. Barely. I don't know, I gotta start creating more green art. But anyway, for her outfit, her color palette, I mainly wanted to keep to black and green with pops of blue for the electricity, but I also wanted to give her some red in here as like another pop of color. Whereas in the other drawing, I was pretty much limiting my color palette to a very small 3 colors. In this one, I didn't mind having like the red, for example, stand out a little bit. Originally my blue was going to be my only standout color, but I figured that the red helped break up things, and I definitely didn't want her skirt to be blue because I wanted the electricity to be the thing to stand out here, and that's the blue part. So I pulled out my blue Posca pen this time, and the nice thing about Posca pens is that they're extremely opaque since they're paint pens, and you can basically just color directly over whatever you were already drawing. So you don't really need to plan out or leaving white spaces for these colors. You just go right over it. And lastly, I decided to shade a light blue around her to kind of outline and make it look like she's kind of glowing and emitting some electricity from herself. She's kind of crazy. And lastly, I drew my little interpretation of what her ice cream flavor would look like on the side. So anyway, that is my design for Electric Frankenfood ice cream. Let me know what you think of her and which one of these 2 drawings was your favorite. Honestly, it's kind of hard for me to choose a favorite. I would have gone with the vampire one at first, but then I had a lot of fun doing the electricity and the colors in this one, so I'm kind of torn between the 2. I'm interested to see what you guys think in the comments below. Oh yes, and lastly I added some sprinkles because I realized she has a lot of hair and sprinkles would fit nicely there. Anyway, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to join the giveaway for the Picasso Tab digital art tablet, the link to that is in my description box below. It's free to enter, so go check that out. And as always, I have all of my links in the description box below. The link to my online store, my Patreon pin club, only a few more days to sign up to get the free pin, and my Instagram and Discord, everything is there, so go check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing Halloween at home and a safe Halloween, and I will talk to you guys all next week. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.